Have you ever wondered why elders are often advised not to go visiting around too much? Is it just an outdated belief? Or is there a deeper wisdom behind it? This saying has been passed down for generations, but why? At first it might sound harsh or even unfair. After all, shouldn't older people be free to visit family and friends as they please? But behind this advice lies some powerful lessons about aging, dignity, and relationships that many overlook. In this video, we're diving deep into this old wisdom and uncovering 3 key lessons that explain why excessive visiting in old age might not be the best idea. Some of these insights might surprise you, so stick around till the end and let's explore the truth behind this saying. Lesson 1. The loss of authority and respect. Respect is something that many people spend their entire lives building through hard work, wisdom, and leadership. In youth and middle age, people are often valued for their contributions to their families, workplaces, and communities. But as they grow older, that respect can start to fade, especially if they are perceived as no longer being as influential or productive as they once were. This shift can be difficult to accept, but it's a reality that many elders face. One of the subtle ways this loss of respect manifests is in how often an elder chooses to visit others. In many cultures, a guest is honored and welcomed with enthusiasm, especially if their presence is rare and special. However, when visits become too frequent, that excitement can turn into mere politeness, or worse, quiet annoyance. Instead of being an esteemed guest, an elder who visits too often might unintentionally become someone others feel obligated to entertain. Imagine this. If an elder visits once in a while, the host is likely to be excited, preparing a meal, or making time for a meaningful conversation. The visit feels like an occasion, something to look forward to. But if the same elder starts visiting multiple times a week, the dynamic changes. The host may still be polite, but over time, their enthusiasm may fade. They might begin to see the visits as a disruption to their routine rather than a cherished moment. This isn't to say that elders should isolate themselves or avoid socializing. Connection is important at any age. However, there is a fine balance between maintaining relationships and overextending one's presence. When visits become too frequent, they can start to feel less like a joyful reunion and more like an expectation, one that hosts may not always be eager to fulfill. Another factor to consider is that younger family members and friends have their own responsibilities, routines, and challenges. While they may love and respect their elders, they also have jobs, children to care for, and personal time they need to protect. If an elder visits too often, even with the best intentions, it may create unspoken stress for those they are visiting. The younger person may feel guilty for not being able to give them the attention they deserve, leading to an uncomfortable and unintended strain on the relationship. What's even more concerning is that this loss of respect isn't always obvious at first. People may not directly express their frustration or discomfort, especially when dealing with an elder they love. Instead, their energy, enthusiasm, and attentiveness may gradually decrease over time. This slow shift can be painful, turning once welcomed visits into something others tolerate rather than truly enjoy. The key lesson here is understanding the value of presence over frequency. When someone, especially an elder, knows how to manage the rarity of their presence, they can maintain their sense of authority, dignity, and respect. When visits are occasional and meaningful, people are more likely to cherish them rather than take them for granted. Ultimately, elders should aim to be remembered as wise and respected figures, not as individuals whose presence is merely endured. By being mindful of how often they visit and ensuring that their time with others remains meaningful, they can preserve the admiration and warmth that should rightfully accompany old age. Lesson 2. The harsh reality of dependency. As people grow older, the need for companionship becomes more apparent. Loneliness can be a real struggle, and it's natural to seek connection with family, friends, and even neighbors. However, what many elders don't realize is that the more they visit others, the more they may unknowingly become dependent on these visits for emotional fulfillment. Without even noticing, their sense of self-worth and happiness can start to rely on how often others welcome them. At first, visiting frequently may seem harmless. After all, what's wrong with spending time with loved ones? But when visits become excessive, they can shift from being moments of joy to acts of dependency. Instead of finding fulfillment in their own routines and hobbies, some elders begin to depend on the reactions and availability of others to feel valued. This can be dangerous because people's schedules and priorities change, and not everyone is able to reciprocate that level of attention. And when people don't reciprocate the visits, that's when feelings of rejection can creep in. An elder who is used to dropping by often may start to feel hurt or unappreciated when they notice that others aren't making the same effort. They might take a lack of invitations as a sign that they are no longer wanted, even when the reality is that others are simply busy with their own responsibilities. This can create unnecessary emotional pain and even resentment, which can damage relationships over time. Now, compare this with elders who maintain a strong sense of self-reliance. These individuals engage in their own hobbies, take care of their own affairs, and only visit when there's a real occasion or purpose. Because they don't seem overly dependent on others for social interaction, their presence is often viewed as refreshing rather than overwhelming. When they do visit, they bring wisdom, stories, and positive energy, things that make people look forward to their company. Think about the difference in perception. A self-reliant elder who drops by occasionally is seen as independent, confident, and in control of their life. Meanwhile, an elder who visits too frequently, especially without invitation, might be seen as someone who has little else to do. Over time, this can make people view them as needy rather than as respected figures. The reality is, no one wants to feel like a burden, but dependency can slowly lead to that impression. It's important for elders to maintain their independence and avoid the trap of constantly seeking validation from others. True respect comes from being self-sufficient and knowing how to balance socializing with personal space. This doesn't mean elders should avoid people altogether. It simply means they should be mindful of how often they seek company. By cultivating their own fulfilling routines, interests, and sense of purpose, they ensure that their presence is always a welcomed gift rather than an expectation. Lesson 3. Protecting one's dignity and presence. There's an old saying, familiarity breeds contempt. While this might sound harsh, it holds a deep truth, especially when it comes to social interactions in old age. When someone is always around, their presence can start to feel routine, even unremarkable. But when they maintain a level of mystery, when their visits are occasional yet meaningful, they naturally command more respect and appreciation. This is an important lesson for elders who want to age with dignity. Aging gracefully isn't just about maintaining health, it's also about knowing how to manage one's presence. Being too available or constantly visiting others can, unfortunately, lead to being taken for granted. When someone is always dropping by, their visits no longer feel special. They become just another part of the routine. But when an elder is selective with their visits, their presence carries weight. People look forward to seeing them, and their time together becomes more meaningful. Imagine two different elders, one who visits occasionally, bringing wisdom, laughter, and warmth when they do, and another who is always present, perhaps even lingering past the point of being truly welcomed. The first elder is respected and valued. Their arrival is an occasion. The second elder, though well-meaning, risks becoming someone that people feel obligated to accommodate rather than genuinely excited to see. The way people perceive an elder's presence can have a profound impact on their dignity. No one wants to feel like they're being tolerated rather than appreciated. By limiting their visits and making each interaction meaningful, elders can maintain a sense of importance in the lives of others without overstepping boundaries. This balance is key to keeping relationships strong and avoiding the unspoken resentment that can come from overexposure. Additionally, maintaining dignity also means valuing one's own time and space. Elders who cultivate their own interests, routines, and sense of purpose outside of social visits tend to be seen as independent and self-assured. They don't just wait for others to fill their time. They create a life that others are eager to be a part of. This makes them not just respected, but admired. It's important to remember that relationships thrive when both presence and absence are balanced. Too much distance and bonds weaken. Too much presence and appreciation fades. The goal should be to leave people wanting more of your company, not wishing for less. By being intentional about their visits, elders can protect their dignity, strengthen their relationships, and ensure that their presence is always a valued and cherished part of the lives of those around them. Conclusion. So, as we've seen, there's real wisdom behind the advice that elders should be mindful of how often they visit others. Lesson 1 taught us how frequent visits can lead to a loss of authority and respect. Lesson 2 showed us how dependency on others for companionship can be emotionally risky. And Lesson 3 reminded us that protecting one's dignity means maintaining a balance, being present but not overexposed. Aging gracefully is about knowing when to step forward and when to step back. It's about ensuring that every visit is meaningful and leaves a lasting, positive impression. When elders manage their presence wisely, they are not just welcomed, but truly appreciated. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think this advice still applies today? If you agree with the lessons in this video, comment 9 below. If you think times have changed and this advice no longer holds, comment 0. I'd love to see what you all think. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more thought-provoking content, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and stay wise.